Okay.
And we're coming at you live.
Welcome back!
Welcome.
It's Finding New Films with a New Face.
Hi, I'm Trevor.
It's Trevor. I'm Hunter, like from the last 3 times. I will not change. That seat will. But
I have immense body dysmorphia. So I go through a lot of changes. It's still me, but I go by different names. I have different face, different hair. You know,
do what you can.
do what you can.
Yeah, you just gotta live with it, right?
Roll with the punches.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today?
We're talking about Clerks, and that was a movie that you picked.
I did pick it. I'd never seen it before. I hear all the lines all the time, and I was like, well, I gotta watch it. It sounds funny. And I wasn't wrong.
Yeah, you were not wrong. It was a very funny movie and very well written. This movie's script just never stops. And when I told my dad actually that we were doing this, he loves this movie, or I don't want to say love, but he really liked this movie, and he was saying that this is probably one of the few movies that like really outperforms or outrights the acting of the movie. Yeah,
I mean, the dialogue is just like so, I guess, I don't know a better word to use than thick.
Yeah.
But like you have to, I rewound scenes to like listen again because it's like you miss a lot if you just, not really pay attention. If you like get lost on one line and you just don't even catch the next joke right after that. Right. And then you might miss the callback to it later in the movie. It's the only movie I've ever seen with such good callbacks. Yeah. It's like a whole series packed into 1 hour and a half runtime. It's really amazing.
I really love it. Scenes of life type of movie, but through the lens of like, I mean, this is probably because we've lived this, of like we know what scenes of life of a gas station clerk is.
Yep.
So from that perspective, it was like, damn, this is
this is pretty real. Like, I mean, even though it's from 1994 and we were only clerks, in the late 2010s, it's super relatable. Everything is the same. I mean, shitty customers, annoying customers, just like all the minutia of a dead-end job is all clearly represented in the movie.
That fucking egg guy. Oh my god. I never had anything that crazy, but I did have people that had like really weird superstitions about like the way a bottle looked or something.
Oh yeah, if there's a little dent in the bottle, they're like, can I get a discount on that? Yeah, no, fuck off. I'm definitely more of a Randall attitude than Dante. I'm not that nice.
No, I would never be able to live like Dante. It was really sad to watch how he crumbled to like actual authority, but anybody he felt like he had authority over, or like
he immediately took that power into his hand. Yeah, but what do we know about this movie? Who made it?
Yeah. So we're going to read the credits now. So this movie was 92 minutes long, very nicely packed. I thought it was really well directed and had a really good pace.
No, it flew by. Yeah. I didn't realize it was that short.
Yeah, I was watching it casually while my roommates were having a conversation in the kitchen, and I just had the subtitles on. But it moves so fast that you really don't even notice. But nevertheless, written and directed by Kevin Smith, very obviously. And then the score was done by Benji Gordon. In the credits, the E was left off the end of his name. Just because I don't know, maybe they didn't meet. But the cinematography was done by David Klein. And then the movie's cast is filled out by Brian O'Halloran, Jeff Anderson, Marion Gigliotti, Lisa Spoonhour, Kevin Smith, Jason Mewes, Scott Mosier, Walter Flanagan, and David Klein. Those last 3 guys play at least 4 characters in the movie.
Yeah, not because they were supposed to, but because, according to Kevin Smith, the actors who were supposed to play those roles simply didn't show up. I mean, this is a super low-budget film made in New Jersey. It was filmed in the actual convenience store and video store that Kevin Smith worked in at the time from 10:30 to 5 in the morning. So if no one showed up, he just grabbed the nearest guy that he knew and was like, hey, can you act? And that's kind of evident, in a lot of the movie, but it really doesn't take away from it that much because it's so well written, and because a lot of these characters are based on people that Kevin Smith knew, it's like really true to who they are. They don't have to act that hard. So honestly, it worked out great for him.
Yeah. He, I mean, navigated, I mean, with all of this hindsight that we're able to have, he really navigated making this movie in a crazy way that just nobody makes movies like that, really, even anymore.
Yeah, it's just
slightly.
Well, he went and the budget for the film was $27,575. He got those funds from borrowing money from his parents, getting loans from friends. He sold off a large portion of his comic book collection, and he also maxed out, I think it said, 8 credit cards. So he basically was throwing everything he had at it, and he knew that if this movie did not work out, if it didn't get picked up by a distributor, if people weren't going to go see it, if it didn't get into a festival, he was screwed, and he was going to be working at those stores for the rest of his life. So it was a big risk, and he really knocked it out of the park. I mean, shoot, what was that? Oh, he was getting 1 hour of sleep a night while filming because he had to work at the store all day, and then close, and then film, and he was directing, he was writing on the fly, and he was acting also as Silent Bob in the film. So he was just fully torqued. Yeah,
I can't even imagine that. That sounds like hell. I mean, great because it worked out for him, but I mean that very easily could have been a disaster story for Kevin Smith. But
look at where he is now.
Yeah.
2 more Clerks movies, several Jay and Silent Bob spinoffs, which I have not seen any of those. Yeah. But after the fantastic impression of Clerks, I'm going to be checking them out because if not, for like the writing, which just really drew me in. I mean, it all felt so legit, for lack of a better word. I mean,
it felt really.
It sounded like stuff that I would say when I was at the store, and when someone would walk out, and I'd be like, "Oh, fuck yourself," because that's just how you act. That's how you act. I mean, you get this kind of. It's a war of attrition between you and the customer, and slowly but surely they wear you down. You try to be nice, try to be sweet and understanding, and then they just bother you, they badger you, and you lose it, and you close the store and you go play hockey on the roof.
Yeah, I mean, you do what you have to do. I mean, we were saying that right off the jump. It's you just roll with the punches.
Roll with the punches.
Roll with the like the hockey punches, like the fight.
That was such a great scene. I really was fooled into thinking like, oh, he's gonna kick this guy's ass, and then he just got rocked, and the guy he slapped the ball away.
That's so funny. I loved that scene a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I wish I would have done something like that. I wish I would have, been a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, what led to me quitting my job at the store was, I mean, I never was as rude as Randall's character was to his video store customers, but I worked at a convenience store very similar to Dante's. It was all regulars. I knew everybody who was coming in, and they just started to push my buttons. And there were a few people that I literally lost my shit on, and I was like, I'm going to get shot if I keep doing this. So I had to quit, which is ironic considering the alternate ending of Clerks, which was Dante getting shot.
Yeah.
If anybody didn't know that. Kevin Smith had to be persuaded to remove that ending and leave it on a more lighthearted note where it's like, okay, he's going to try to make some changes, which I thought was much nicer because I grew to like Dante a lot, and I really loved Randall. And I was more thinking like, man, how sad would Randall be if Dante died?
Yeah.
And I think that, I relate to it because I had quit my shitty gas station job, and, I'm not doing amazing now. I'm not Kevin Smith directing movies and writing for movies, but I'm doing a lot better, and I don't hate myself. I think one of the big themes of this movie was dissatisfaction and complacency.
Yeah.
And you see it over and over again. He's like, I'm not even supposed to be here today. Repeatedly.
Yeah.
And it was just like, well, and Randall calls him out right at the end of the movie. He's like, you had a choice.
Yeah.
You could have just not been here.
Yeah. But you chose
everything terrible that happened to Dante throughout the movie was because he didn't say, fuck off. Right. I'm not supposed to work today.
Right.
That's all he had to do.
Yeah. And then, oh my God, I love the boss isn't coming. He's in New Jersey. He went to Vermont. He'll be back in like 3 days.
No, he had, and then on the phone, he immediately apologizes after freaking out. And Randall, again, like the voice of reason, more or less, is like, well, why'd you apologize? You have every right to be angry. Like, I know I wouldn't have reacted that way. I wouldn't have said sorry to anybody if I was told, like, oh, you got to work the next 2 days, but you also weren't supposed to work because I'm in Vermont.
Yeah, no, he would have heard that shit from me. I would have never let that happen. But I'm just different like that.
Built different, not bitch made.
Alrighty. I think I'm gonna read the plot, and then we're gonna keep like doing our open discussion stuff. But I just want to get the plot out of the way so we're all on the same page. So it goes as follows. Dante Hicks, a young man who works as a retail clerk at a Quick Stop Groceries in Leonardo, New Jersey, is called into work on his day off to cover another employee's morning shift. Arriving at the store, he finds the security shutters are jammed closed with gum, so he hangs his sheet over them with, quote, "I assure you, we are open," written in shoe polish. Soon after opening, Dante's best friend, wisecracking slacker Randall Glaves, arrives for his own workday at the next door video rental store, RST Video. The two prepare for another ordinary day immersed in their own tedious customer service jobs. Dante repeatedly laments that he is not even supposed to be here today, while Randall neglects his job at the video store to keep Dante company at Quick Stop. They pass the time engaging in philosophical discussions on a wide variety of topics, including movies, sex, relationships, and difficult customers. Some of the customers they encounter during the day are angry and demanding, others are clueless and impolite, others clueless and impolite, others prove unexpectedly wise. After several hours, Dante discovers that his boss, who was supposed to arrive at 12 to relieve Dante, went on a trip to Vermont, leaving him to run the store for the rest of the day. Dante and Randall find a number of reasons to leave the store and slack off. From a rooftop hockey game with their friends to crashing an ill-fated wake for Julie Dwyer, one of Dante's ex-lovers. Throughout the film, Dante is torn between Veronica Lauren, his current girlfriend, and Caitlin Bree, his ex-girlfriend with whom he secretly still communicates despite her being engaged. Dante is distressed when he learns Veronica has given oral sex to 36 men before him and engaged in snowballing with at least one. Despite Veronica's doting on him, Dante chooses to rekindle his relationship with Caitlin. However, Caitlin is traumatized by an incident in the Quick Stop bathroom in the dark. She had sex with a person that she thought was Dante, but who was actually an old customer who had died of a heart attack while masturbating to a pornographic magazine Dante provided him earlier in the day. Caitlin leaves in a catatonic state in an ambulance. Jay and Silent Bob, a pair of drug dealers who spend their time loitering outside the store, invite Dante to a party with them after hours, but Dante declines, considering the various seedy characters the two usually attract. Aware of Dante's problems, Silent Bob tersely and convinces him that he really loves Veronica, but Randall has already confessed the previous events to her, prompting a furious Veronica to dramatically dump Dante. Dante then finally loses his temper and fights Randall, trashing the Quick Stop. Dante and Randall have a crucial moment of clarity after their fight. Dante repeats his refrain that he's not even supposed to be here today, and an enraged Randall, fed up with Dante's self-pitying, explodes at Dante, explaining that he, Dante, not Randall, closed the store several times to slack off. He then says Dante came to work on his own free will and therefore could have left at any time, preventing the day's events. Furthermore, he says they are not as, quote, advanced over the customers as they think they are, or else they would not be stuck in such lowly jobs, leaving Dante speechless. After the two make amends to clean the store, Dante plans to visit Caitlin in the hospital, try to reconcile with Veronica, and possibly get some direction in his life. Randall leaves, but not before tossing Dante's shoe polish sign in his face and declaring, "You're closed." And that's it.
The end. So, running off the top, I want to ask you a question relating to the very beginning of the movie. What's your body count? No. How many dicks have you sucked? It's a great question to ask in any relationship, of course, because you have to know. It's so important how many people you fucked and how many dicks you've sucked. Yeah. It's the most important thing.
It's like the first thing I ask when I match with somebody on Tinder. It's like, first off, body count.
How many guys have you snowballed?
Okay, it's body count, then it's height, then it's weight.
Snowballing was mentioned. If you don't know what snowballing is, it's basically a normal BJ up until a certain point where the woman or man performing the blowjob takes the produce into their mouth and then passes it over to the receiver of the head. And, I can't speak to how pleasurable that might be, but apparently the guy in the movie got off on it. So it's prevalent. I mean, it's a term. There's a slang term for it. It's in the Urban Dictionary. So it must be pretty popular. And to know that, I will say the number of dicks and the number of bodies does not matter, but to know that any woman I had been with had snowballed a guy would bother me.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I like to think I'm pretty progressive and sex positive, but snowballing is a step too far, in my opinion. So I can understand slightly Dante's anger, but I think it's more the number. The 37?
It's not the fact that she's done it. It's that I don't need to know that you've.
And it was also that guy who was just there.
Yeah, I don't need to know that you've ever snowballed anybody, and especially I didn't need to know that it was the guy who was just being a cunt to me. So
yeah, and to be fair to Dante, he did not ask her how many dicks she sucked. She asked him first how many girls he had been with, and 12 was more than me. Dante's doing pretty good.
Yeah, I'll give it to Dante.
I mean, at 22,
looking like that, polling is pretty wild.
It is New Jersey.
That's fair. That's fair.
Full hate.
Yeah.
All offense.
I think my note for this, I had cum comparisons. Was literally the note that I wrote down. I really enjoyed that little discussion.
Just a great way to pull me into the movie. It's just a whole intro because I had to. I was about to Google what snowballing was before Veronica explained it. And then it became pretty clear, but the way she explained it, she had done it. So it was a nice little bit of tension there before he's like, wait a second.
Hold on.
How do you know so much about this snowballing?
Yeah, wait a minute. There's a reason you know what snowballing is. Yeah, that was fun.
But what did you think of Jay and Silent Bob? Because based on all that I had heard, I was kind of surprised at how small of a role they had in the movie. I thought they were much more active. I thought they were actual friends of Dante and Randall. I didn't know they were just guys who sold drugs outside and made fun of them and called them F words.
Yeah.
Which was funny, to be fair. Like, the few sparse moments they were in were great, but I thought they were going to be more main characters. They were just kind of there.
Yeah. I definitely thought the movie would be more zany. I thought the movie would be, like, way more slapstick.
I thought it was
slapstick, but more
over the top.
Yeah, I thought it would be way more over the top, but with the budget, it kind of had to stay grounded.
Yeah, and that's why the dialogue shines through so much, because there's so many interesting little conversations and just weird shit. I mean, it is a little bit zany in that way, like the Russian cousin of Silent Bob.
I have
Bazooka!
I have a note that says Shrelneck.
Shrelneck.
He just says, they ask him a question, he goes, Shrelneck. And then Jay goes, yeah, see, man, this cat. He's
right
fucking,
here.
This guy's
hilarious.
Crazy.
No, but I loved that little bit character. I think it's a tie between him and the guy who came on the roof and stole their ball.
Yeah.
For my favorite, just like 5 seconds. Like, that's all you get to see of him. But it's a huge impact on the movie, for me at least.
Yeah. It was really funny. That scene. Him just everything about that scene was just so good. You think there's about to be this epic hockey scene. I mean, you know it's going to get ruined in some way because, like, that's the tone of the movie.
That's kind of the theme of the movie, is that things will seem to be going fine, and then it's almost like Dante ruins it for himself. I mean,
and then he wants to blame somebody else for it.
Yeah, it's part of his character, and this is something that I struggled with, is just guilting myself over inconveniencing people and thinking that, like, and Randall calls him out, is like feeling like the weight of the world is on my shoulders. Like, it's my responsibility to make sure everybody else is happy at my own detriment. Yeah. So instead of striving for his own happiness, he's just being complacent and, thinking that, like, oh, this is so important. Like, what I do is so important. Like, he tries to lord the way he does his job over Randall, but it has the same result. I mean, they both have totally different approaches, but it's the same result at the end of the day. Right. So, he's not doing anything different.
Yeah. I just think, I agree with everything you said. I don't have anything to add to that. I was going to try and add something, but I don't have anything for it. What you said is true, like exactly what it is.
I mean, really, this is like Dante comes across as an asshole.
Yeah.
This movie a lot.
The whole movie. I mean, like, him picking the other girl over, him picking, what's her name, Caitlin over Veronica.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Insanity. If you watch any part of that movie, there's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see how anyone could really. I mean, I somewhat sympathize with Dante, and like I was once in that position of like being indecisive and blaming everything around me for my problems. But even though I'm not much older than he was, than his character was in that movie, I'm just like I'm so far beyond that.
Yeah.
And like he's got encouragement from everyone around him. I mean, especially Veronica is like you can go back to school, and it comes out later in the movie that she moved back to their town to go to a worse college to be close to him and to encourage him to go to school. I mean, she brought him a lasagna.
He was just rubbing his back while he was laying on the ground.
I mean,
I don't even understand.
And just to take that for granted and still be talking to the girl who cheated on you in high school.
Yeah,
it's
and
like
is about to like break up with her fiance
for you.
Yeah,
it's kind of pathetic. Yeah,
I mean, and you gotta really. At a certain point, you got to consider the character, and I don't mean the character of Dante, but you need to consider the character of like the people you're talking to. And Dante is just unequivocally not really willing to do that, and it comes back and bites him in the ass like a bunch, and for good reason, because he doesn't
deserve a happy ending.
Exactly.
I don't think
he doesn't deserve for her.
I think the ending he got was a lot happier and more optimistic than he should have got. I mean, in a real life situation, I don't think he would have any chance of reconciling with Veronica. And like, it's still, you see that I'm excited to watch Clerks 2 eventually because I don't know how much it follows the story and those same characters exactly, but it seems that he's still thinking of juggling Veronica and Caitlin's like, I'm going to visit Caitlin in the hospital, but I'm also going to try to talk to Veronica again. It's like, well, which one are you going to go with? Where are you going, guy? It's like he didn't really learn much, which I guess is, a theme of the movie. He didn't really learn anything throughout the whole day.
Right.
I mean, as shitty as Randall is at his job, he was much happier where he was. He wasn't lying to himself about what he was doing or how important he was. He was very aware of, like, this is a dead-end job. It's basically worthless. Yeah. And the people that I'm serving are just as bad as me.
Yeah, I agree. That's like one of the biggest things in that movie for me of like he accepts who he is. He accepts his position in life at the moment. Like but he's not staying, within himself and saying like this is it. This is all I'll ever do. But at the same time he accepts the situation that he's in, understands that this is his situation and tries to make the most out of it rather than Dante, who puts so much like self-hate on himself to make sure that he gets out of that situation, and to no avail eventually, to really no avail. So what is at the end of the day? What are you complaining about?
What are you complaining about? Let's see.
I'll go. I have a note. I have a note that says watching someone open a store is a little bit traumatic.
Yeah, man. That feeling of waking up at 6 in the goddamn morning and just knowing like I gotta go, I gotta make coffee, gotta turn the lights on, gotta flip the sign over. And it's just like the monotony of it, and just knowing that like for sure the first guy to come in is gonna be buying cigarettes.
Yeah.
Every time.
You just gotta live that, and it's worse.
You know what? One way in which Dante is better than me is he never smokes in the movie. The number one thing that happened to me in my job is I started smoking because the stress was so intense, and like just being able to step outside of the store and not being locked behind the counter for the 5 minutes that nobody was there was a blessing. Yeah. So I credit that job with my nicotine addiction. 100%.
Well, there you go.
So good on Dante. He's not a smoker.
Yeah. I mean, after that fucking berating that he got, I don't think he'd want to be.
Yeah, that was
fucking hilarious.
That was amazing. I didn't know that in the 90s that anti-smoking like campaigns were that prevalent. And of course, it's revealed like he's not some activist. He's trying to sell nicotine gum.
He's just a Chulies rep.
Chulies. Such a terrible name for I'm assuming a fake gum brand.
Yeah. That's such a great fake brand name though. I just love that little PSA turning into a TED talk.
Yeah,
and he starts rallying.
And everyone's throwing their cigarettes they just bought at him, and then after all that, the one guy who's still there is like, pack of cigarettes. Which, I mean, I would have customers like that who would come in with their new little vape pen or their nicotine gum, like, I'm off that shit. I'm not smoking cigarettes ever again. And then, like, the next day they come in like, Newport shorts, please. They just look haggard. It's just, it's not just the nicotine they're missing. It's the cancer. It really is.
Yeah. And we're not talking about astrology. I noted a line that was said by Veronica Dante to Veronica. He looks at her when they're talking about the dick sucking,
right?
And he goes, "This is different. This is important." when talking about how many guys that she has sucked dick on, how many guys she's sucked their dicks, he's like, what? You fucked 12 girls? And he goes, that's not, this is different. This is important. that line killed me.
I gotta admit, it definitely puts you in perspective of like the time where I think that like that kind of revelation would be much more important for somebody. I mean, I can't say I wouldn't be bothered. It's still though, it's the snowballing for me. But here's the thing: is I would just never ask the question. Right. I would never wonder. Because it's just, you don't want to go down that path. Yeah. Because everyone's got history, and and that's something that obviously Dante did not realize.
Yeah, and everyone has jealousy too. So
yeah, and he didn't take into account the fact that 12 is a fairly hefty body count. I think for a 22-year-old, I believe he said he was 22 in that movie. That's a pretty hefty body count for a 22-year-old. I mean, I think as a not that attractive guy, I think 12 is pretty great. I think that's like a lifetime achievement. That's a lifetime of fucking for me. 12.
And then we're talking 12 different women.
12 different women. That's
not. We're not saying sex 12 times. 12 different women.
I think I've maybe had. I don't even know if I've had sex 12 times.
Yeah,
honestly. So really, the 12 different women is pretty impressive. Right. Once again, not knocking, his game, his riz, as it were. That's what the kids say these days?
Yeah, riz.
Riz.
The riz.
I kind of wanted to talk about some more lines that stand out to me because, like, this is such a quotable movie. That's the only reason I was aware of it. I mean, I knew about Kevin Smith because he's just at Comic-Con a lot. He writes for a lot of different movies. He's written some comics. Howard the Duck and stuff like that. So that's where I knew Kevin Smith from, and also the Clerks animated series that aired on Adult Swim.
Oh yeah,
I'd watched that. That's the only exposure I had to his like universe.
Okay.
But all I would ever hear is just like the "don't suck any dicks on your way to the parking lot." Like that's a line that I've heard for years, and I never knew where it was from. Until eventually I'm like, oh, that's from Clerks. And then I watched like a trailer for it when I was a teenager, and it was a black and white movie, and I was like, this fucking shit made in the 70s. Because I thought black and white movies were from the 70s at that time.
They are.
Life was in black and white up until I was born, basically. Before 9/11, it was all black and white, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we're going to have some iconic lines to talk about.
The best quotes, basically.
Yeah, quotables. When we get back, we're going to be doing quotables.
Some sound
bites. I also have a surprise when we come back. We'll see what that is. Stick with it. Okay. So I said I had a fucking surprise, and I've got a fucking surprise.
Oh, I don't even know what it is.
Today... yesterday was Trevor's birthday.
Oh.
So, he's going to get presented on camera.
Oh, this is...
He knows what it is.
I totally forgot. I was way more excited about recording, and I was like, I totally forgot I was getting presents.
So you can read that later. Okay, that's fine. You can do whatever you want.
That's personal. That's a confession.
It's pretty personal, I'll be honest.
It's a confession of love.
Yeah.
So we're just going to leave that for later.
It actually is.
Oh, it's so fucking beautiful in person.
That's the state of North Carolina.
This is where we from, and I have an inordinate amount of pride about it.
Yeah.
It's nothing, we're nothing to sneeze at. We're only 36 in education.
But it's pretty here. We got pretty outside.
Here in North Kakalaki, which nobody from here calls it that. So if you say that, you're a Yankee.
Yeah, we hate you.
Yeah. Damn carpetbaggers coming down here.
Leave our property alone, okay? It's cheap for a reason, because we like it that way.
It's cheap because the education sucks and segregation.
It's cheap because we like it that way, and we want to keep it that way. And the more of you that come down here, you make it worse. So stay where you're at.
Yeah.
Bitch.
Yeah, that's our political statement for the episode.
Fuck the North. Fuck the Northeast United States.
Yeah, population density.
That's what this podcast is about. Fuck the Northeast United States.
Yes, we'd like to go to our sponsor, a Black Rifle Coffee Company. Just kidding. They do make a great espresso with cream.
Yeah, they do.
We'll say.
I cannot deny that. Oh, we got... Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
This is a disaster. Well, almost as big a disaster as the bathroom scene. And Clerks.
Oh, God.
I'm just going to vamp here for a second. Don't worry about it. One of my favorite quotes from the movie was directly after the scene where...
We're in quotables, by the way.
Caitlin has fucked the dead guy in the dark of the bathroom, which, getting aside how disgusting that is and how bothered, obviously, Dante is by that, and clearly Caitlin, who's catatonic at her last scene in the movie. But Randall just kind of shrugs it off by saying, shit, my mom's been fucking a dead guy for 30 years. I call him Dad.
Oh, shit.
I mean, that one
love
really,
that.
It came out of nowhere. It hit me right in the gut. Like, there's not many movies or TV shows or anything really where I just belly laugh the way I did. I mean, I woke up my dog when I did that. So yeah, that one really hit me.
Yeah, that joke hit me. I don't know why I didn't write that one down. I have another Randall line where Randall is talking to Caitlin a one-on-one, and is basically like, by the end of the conversation, he's telling her, like, if you fuck over Dante, I'm gonna kill you. Yeah. He legitimately says that, and so they have a little exchange in the middle of the conversation where Randall says, hey, we have something in common. We both like Chinese. And she looks over and she goes, dick. And he goes, exactly. Because she's getting married to an Asian design manager. That was a great line. I thought that was super clever.
Also, as a recurring joke, that's like another thing that I think dates the movie a little bit. I mean, like, you hear the F word quite a few times in that movie. But also the fact that it's so notable that she is marrying an Asian guy.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like in most cases now, people wouldn't be like, oh yeah, she's marrying a black guy who majors in architecture.
Yeah, they would never in this movie have said she's marrying a black design major.
It's too specific.
Yeah.
But back in the 90s, especially in New Jersey, I'm guessing, that was a pretty notable thing to point out. It's like, it's almost like, the bent to it is kind of like it's almost humiliating.
Yeah, it's racist ass Northeasterners.
Again, fuck the North.
Yeah, those racist ass Northeasterners.
Hey, look, there's a past here, but
but it's
the past.
It's the past.
It seems like they never forgot about their prejudices up there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, I think it was just...
Let's not act like they didn't return slaves back to the South, okay?
I just thought it was funny how it's kind of a mouthful to say Asian design major, or Asian... Was it Asian design major?
Asian design major, yeah.
Yeah, they repeat that like probably a good dozen times in the movie.
Speaking of the Asian design major, there's another line that says, who doesn't love Sang? and Dante goes, me, I guess. Which Sang is the name of the Asian design major.
And he keeps on saying sing.
Yeah. It's fucking past tense. That was another great line. That was another great line.
And of course, everyone knows, hey, trying to suck any dick on your way to the parking lot. That's an all-time. Even if you haven't seen Clerks, you've probably seen that. I remember the first time I saw it, I was probably 13 on some Reddit thread, and that would be a common thing to pop up whenever infidelity was brought up, or just like someone's promiscuity. It's a common line, but, kind of dated, of course. Yeah. There's a lot of language in it that's dated. One thing I did like was, I don't have the exact quote here. I couldn't really I didn't write it down at the moment, and I can't find anything. But Jay, at the beginning of the movie, talking about how he would love to go down on Silent Bob. And then he's like, nah, I love women. So it's like, there's clearly suppressed homosexuality in that man.
Yeah, I another line I have written down is if we're this is one of the more like deep lines, and this is from like the like the end of the movie when he goes, if we're so fucking advanced, what the fuck are we doing here? Yeah. And I love how that line paints Dante's self-importance with Randall's like more just generalized approach.
Yep. And credit to the actor O'Halloran.
Yeah. I think that's Dante. Jeff Anderson is right.
Well, I meant credit to O'Halloran. Okay. Yeah. So the delivery by Anderson, great. Right. But I mean, just like the way his face immediately changes and it just dawns on him. They're like, oh, I'm not special. Yeah. Because I think something that happens with people who have like a above average intelligence, or at least just feel like they do, is they have this kind of complex to where it's like, everything bad that happens isn't my fault and I'm better than everybody else. Even though there's nothing to support that belief. Right. It's core to his character is that he is superior because he chooses to suffer. That's like his character, basically. He's like, oh, I'm better than my friend Randall because I choose to do this the right way and suffer for it. And I'm way less happy doing the exact same thing.
And in doing it gets me nowhere further. It's not going to ever get him anywhere further.
And it really, I had to pause the movie for a second when he said that line because I probably had the same mindset for years where it's just like, especially when you work in like a rural area like I did, where it's just, everyone is less educated. They're all playing scratchy lotteries and they drink 40s all day. Like that's just the demographic that I was serving. And it's pretty easy to fool yourself and be like, I'm so much better. But it's like, I still live in this town. I like these people are like my friends and family. I come from the same stock of white trash. So I can't really claim to be better. Despite like, oh, I did great in high school. It's like, well, you didn't go to college, dummy. So where do you think you're going to go working in the convenience store? Yeah.
I definitely got that feeling working in the convenience store. I'm like, I'm talking down about people who are smoking cigarettes and stuff, come home and smack the bong, and I don't have any money in my bank account. So it's like, are you really better than them at the end of the day? Just because you don't drink malt liquor, you smoke weed when you get home? I mean, are you that much better? Yeah, it definitely, in this movie, was great for perspective. So this movie is great for it, is giving a perspective of what you're doing in the morality and the everyday, and I love that part of it. Speaking of morality, I think it's time that we talk about the Return of the Jedi. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. So probably one of the best little exchanges between Dante and Randall in this film is when it cuts to Randall sitting in his store. He's watching. You hear the lasers in the background. It's like, okay, he's watching Star Trek or Star Wars or something, and he just like has a face. And he pauses the movie, gets up, locks the store for like the 5th time that day. Not to mention he got there late.
I love that.
And he crosses over
and he keeps locking the door,
and he's like, what about those? Basically, I'm paraphrasing here. He's like, what about the people who are on the second Death Star? He's like, what do you mean? Donnie's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, in the first Star Wars, the first Death Star was fully functional, it was completed. It was all just Imperial Army, So when you kill them, it's like no big deal. They signed up for this. But what about those independent contractors who are working on that Death Star? And he has a whole logistical basis because he's like, it's not just like, of course, there's tons of Imperial resources being used to build this, but like, it's such a huge project. You gotta hire outside help.
Metal workers,
roofers, aluminum siding. All those guys are just there for a job. They don't have any political motivations. They don't have any agenda. So why did they become victims?
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this dude comes up. He's a roofer, and he fucking starts going into the whole thing about no, see, when you're a contractor, I've been doing this shit for years.
Yeah.
And if you take into a bad job and you know what your conscience is, you can't ever do that. And it's the funniest shit.
This whole basis is like, well, you know, there's political motivations to the jobs I take and the jobs I don't. So it's like they knew what they were getting into. Is the gist of it, and it kind of flips Randall back. It's like, oh well. Well, I guess my point wasn't so salient. But I just thought it made me really think for a second, like, yeah, that's kind of a war crime, right? But then it's like, well, what about like the guys who built the gas chambers? And during the Holocaust, it's like they obviously knew what they were for. I mean, you can't be building. It's the second Death Star. People knew about the first one, so when you're building, you signed on to build the second Death Star. You know it's for destroying planets. So not to get too into Star Wars here, but like, you know, they had to have known, right? I mean, the Emperor was there.
I will say, and this is a tangent for sure. The movie, or not the movie, but the series they just released, Andor, does a great job of painting the anarchist like influences of Andor and of the rebels in general. You know, sometimes when you have a rebellion, you do some dirty ass shit in order to, further what you believe is right. And there's a moral gray area when you're doing stuff like that. And Andor paints it perfectly for Star Wars, and that would be the response to this Clerks, interaction that they have. But I thought it was really funny, clever, and the way that it's written, they are all very inquisitive about figuring out the morality of the situation.
And it's funny because George Lucas never took that into account when he was writing those movies. That was the furthest thing from his mind. But yeah, especially when you consider that this movie was written and filmed in 1994, they didn't have the context that we have of all the expanded media. I mean, the prequels hadn't even been made yet. So
even conceptualized, I feel like.
I think episode 1 premiered in 96 or 97.
99.
Was it really?
I think. Yeah,
hey, because we're going on a Star Wars tangent. We're going full hog Star Wars tangent here for a second. I think Kevin Smith would respect that.
Yep.
He's a huge nerd, just like us.
Yep. Because I actually, the day before I watched Clerks, our friend Chris came over and we watched Trainspotting. I had never seen that movie. Incredible movie. Don't want to go on a tangent.
I know Evan McGregor's in it. That's all I know.
And that was probably the movie that got him Phantom Menace, because they were filming that movie for 2 years and it came out in 99.
Okay, you're right. Okay, I didn't know for sure. But yeah, given so far and away from the prequels and the spin-off movies and the series and the books and all these other comics that have come out, they were like Kevin Smith, because he wrote these lines, of course, was this introspective on just the little things in Star Wars and the implications of the actions of the main characters. And he probably thought about it harder than George Lucas did. Like most Star Wars fans, we're all thinking way too hard about this stuff, guys. Just watch it. And it's like, it's the same as a comic book movie. You just got to watch it.
I will say,
spectacle.
Yeah, I will say Kevin Smith, being a comic book fan, benefits this movie in the way that he cares about intricate, minute details, and you can see it. Like he's very aware of his whole script. He's very aware of the direction that he's doing, and it comes off so well. Because he looks smart, because he is smart. Yeah. And it's not misconstrued at all. He is 100% fully committed to the whole script, and his ability to do callbacks and interweave things. And if you know anything about Kevin Smith, him making that whole universe of creating basically a multiverse with his movies and stuff. It really goes to show his comic book,
Yeah, there's love. A lot of dedication there, and I wanted to get into the callbacks. I think those are some of the best jokes in the whole movie. Just the one that immediately comes to mind is
at maybe the midway point of the movie where they close the store for, I think, the second time, they are going to the wake.
Yeah.
And they don't show any of the things that happen at the wake. They get ran out. But on the way to the wake, Randall is talking about his cousin who killed himself by trying to suck his own dick, and he snapped his neck.
It was an accident. He didn't purposely do it.
And there's a little bit, there's a funny bit where, like, Dante admits to having tried himself, but he never tried that hard. And then Randall, you can't really tell if he's telling the truth or not. He's like, I never tried it, you pervert. Like, he calls Dante a pervert when at an earlier point, or at one point in the movie, he's openly watching a hermaphrodite porn movie in the middle of the store. So really just,
man, Randall really me for real.
Hey, he wanted to expand his horizons, and I can respect that. I had that. I mean, it's much easier with the internet, so I expanded my horizons when I was probably 13, and I did not enjoy it, to say the least.
Yeah.
But they call back to that scene later because, of course, when the old man had jacked off and died in the restroom, and Caitlin inadvertently had sex with his corpse. Great bit. They cut to the mortician. Yeah.
Or at least the on-scene mortician.
Yeah, she's there, kind of giving a breakdown to them, like asking questions, and then I think it's Randall who asks, "Is this like the craziest thing you've ever seen?" She's like, "No, actually, I ran into a little boy who snapped his neck trying to suck his own dick." And I had almost forgotten that line from earlier. And I was like, wait a second. And I rewound and I went like, oh, okay. And you can kind of tell because they have that eye contact moment. It's like, man, I'm not going to say anything. Like, I was hoping he was going to be like, that's my cousin. But he just kind of swallows his tongue. He's like, okay. Yeah. But hey, it proves that he wasn't lying. Because Dante did think he was bullshitting him. That's probably one of my favorite. That's probably my favorite callback.
For that scene, I just want to one of my notes right here. It just says "fucking necrophilia" with like 5 question marks. Oh god,
necrophilia? That's a crime.
It is a crime.
That is a crime.
Quite literally a crime. Want to point out this movie doesn't pass the Bechdel test, and that's kind of upsetting.
I don't know what the Bechdel test is.
The Bechdel test is a test that was created by Rachel Bechtel. I'm pretty sure she was a sociologist, and she basically created this test for movies, the Bechdel test, and it's to judge whether or not the women in the movie are real characters or if they're set pieces to support the men in the movie. And unfortunately, in this movie, they are just set pieces to set up the men. So to pass the Bechdel test, I'm gonna look it up just to make sure I've got everything.
Because I thought, I can, not knowing the exact parameters, I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely weren't driving the plot in any way. They were kind of just, I guess...
They did drive the plot, but it was driving Dante's intention, not so much as they have their own intentions and they have their own lives.
Yeah, their only motivations were both connected to Dante.
Yeah.
And it was basically about getting Dante. Or, like, I guess in Veronica's case, motivating Dante and supporting him, like, literally. Like, that's literally her character, is just to be supportive. So I guess I can see why I wouldn't pass a test. But I think that she's a better written character and more complex character than Caitlin, who just seems like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, say what you will about the girl who sucked 36 dicks, but... she wasn't cheating on anybody. She's got her morals in place. I mean, there's something to be said for the fact that she openly admitted to snowballing a guy. But at least she told the truth. She's honest. I think she's got more to her than we see. I don't know if she's in any other Clerks movies.
Yeah.
But I would be excited to see her again. I wonder if Smith improves on that as time goes on. Because, again, 1994. Misogyny was pretty big back then.
Right.
Even without Andrew Tate. It was a pretty big thing. It was cool. Was smoking cigarettes and...
Yeah, and he's a literal rapist. And sex trafficker. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. It's not awesome at all.
It's not great. He's really doing us bald guys dirty.
What do you like? What the fuck? Why you gotta blow it up for Baldwin?
And I just want to point out he has no chin and he's got fish eyes. So, yeah.
You heard it here first.
I don't care if for some reason everyone who watches this podcast is also a fan of Andrew Tate. Kill yourself.
I hope you can. I cancel this. I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
No
No excuses, guys.
Yeah. Do it.
Do it.
So the Bechdel test, number 1, it has to have at least 2 women in it who, number 2, talk to each other about, number 3, something besides men.
Are there ever 2 women who talk to each other in the whole movie? I can't think of a single incident of that. I mean, I was pretty tired when I started watching it at 6 a.m. this morning, but I'm pretty sure that never happened.
I don't think so.
So yeah, right off the bat, that's a pretty big failure.
Yeah.
It is a small cast.
Yeah, and I mean,
he was
they
limited
had
in
to work.
the actors that he could get.
He's got some excuses. I'm not gonna lie, but
I mean,
the same
to
time,
be fair, he was the only one writing the script. There was probably not a lot of input from any women because I'm assuming that the women that were in the movie were the only women that he knew.
Yeah.
So I could cut him a little bit of slack considering the time period and just what he was aiming for was like, and I think that like part of the reason it might not pass is like the characters in the movie are fairly misogynistic.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
You could argue that it was done out of ignorance or it was purposeful.
Yeah.
And I don't think it really takes away too much from the movie.
Right.
It's just something that you're probably going to notice with anything made before like now.
Yeah. I mean, there's movies that pass it that, are old as fuck. I mean, even Fight Club doesn't pass the Bechdel test. So, I mean, the greatest directors, and that movie is for young men.
Yeah, I was about to say, I've only ever heard men say that, like, Fight Club is an amazing movie. I've never heard one woman say, I love Fight Club.
Yeah. I don't think Fight Club was meant to be speaking to women. Although it can. It setting out, it did not. It was not
definitely
trying
not
to.
The intention.
Yeah.
And I think really Clerks is like a movie for clerks. Like it's for people in the early 20s.
Or even just the service industry if you work a cashier job anywhere.
I think someone who works as like retail, clothing stores like a Target or a Walmart would have like a similar feeling. But especially if you are a cashier, you just know how it is. You get the dumbest questions. Like I think the movie did a great job of displaying like the worst types of customers. Like the guy who's like, "Can I use the bathroom?" Even though it's clearly an employee's only bathroom, because like, what kind of gas station just lets anybody use the bathroom? Because the worst people go to gas stations.
Yeah,
that's all I can really say. Sorry if you frequent. If you go to the same gas station every day, you're probably not doing great.
Yeah.
I mean, I go to gas stations for gas.
Yeah. I cannot say that I walk into a convenience store
and feel good about it.
That.
Because there's something good for you in there.
And then number 2, I don't know that I ever really walk in a convenience store and I'm like, I can say I go a whole week without walking into a convenience store.
Yeah, no, once they got the pay the pump thing, I mean, honestly, they didn't have gas. It's not like I'd be going to 7-Elevens.
Yeah.
Just like, I want some Black and Milds.
Yeah, like, no, if I want
overpriced beer.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Is like, why do people buy beer at the gas station?
I don't know. I really don't know. Like, small rant here, but like Modelo is 30% more expensive.
If you go to the gas station.
Just go to the grocery store.
For real. I cannot tell you how many times I scanned a Modelo 32-ouncer because their big ball is a 32-ouncer, not a 40.
Not even a 40, guys.
Not even a 40. It's a 32-ouncer. That shit was $3.89.
Paying $4 for
3 beers.
A beer and 3/4.
4. Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
2.5
12. Yeah, 12s. So
2.5.
It's like
2
almost 3.
Yeah, not quite 3 beers. And you're paying.
What are you
$4.
doing?
I mean, come on. You pay like $8.
12 Modelo's at the store that I worked at. We live in North Carolina. It was $20.
I can't imagine in New Jersey.
I paid $17 for craft beer from a craft beer company for 12 of them tonight. And I'm ashamed of that. So, don't do that. We've got like 3 minutes left. So we're going to run through the themes. just common themes from the movie, and then we're going to close it out, and we're going to go have Trevor's birthday party, because that's why people are here. But nevertheless, these are the themes for Clerks. I'll go first. I'm not even supposed to be here today.
I'm not even supposed to be here today, which is just, you hear it ad nauseum, and it's funny every time, and it's amazing to me that it wasn't called out until the end of the movie.
Yeah, I love the flip. I love the way that they set that up as the go-to line, and then they flip it, and then they say, you know, you're not even supposed to be here today, and that fuels his
one thing
self-realization.
About Randall, it's Randall says, you know, shoot, where's my quote? Okay, people dictate their own behavior, and he says that he mandates his own destiny.
Yeah,
and you can clearly see that because he's putting up with Dante's bullshit all day, and it's not until the very end where he hears that line one more time that he snaps. He's like, you have a choice to make every single day to either keep doing this or to not do this.
Yeah.
And that's probably the thing that stuck out. That's the theme that stuck out to me in this movie was just, you know, I guess inner conflict.
Yeah.
Just deep dissatisfaction.
Identity crisis.
Yeah,
that's another one.
It's an identity crisis. Yeah, a major identity crisis. He doesn't know. He's trying to choose between two girls. He's trying to juggle being a slacker or being attentive to his job. Yeah. He just doesn't know what to do.
Vanity as the downfall.
He's
just a super vain guy. Another theme would be capitalism. He feels vain because of capitalism.
Yeah.
A lot of working class struggles in this movie. There's a super big this is my favorite theme of the movie is the sense of loss of innocence. It just feels like they're our age right now. They're 22, and I definitely feel like there's certain points of time where I'm like, damn, I wish I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I wish I did not pay attention to politics, or like I wish I really didn't, see that thing on the news because it just fucking tipped me off all day. And yeah, it's just shit.
Yeah, it's just shit. And I mean, I think the way that Randall handles things, is is just, he's more aware than Dante, but he's also better at just coping. And while he's not a perfect person, he's obviously got some issues, and he's in the same boat as Dante. I think that the movie is trying to tell you if you're gonna be complacent, if you're gonna be static in your life, then you need to have a good attitude about it, like Randall does.
Yeah,
and he's a good friend throughout the whole movie. I think. I mean, he supports and encourages Dante in everything that happens. I think it's really a movie about friendship. It's a big thing in the movie is their friendship, and it's super one-sided, but it's a great friendship.
Yeah, it is really good. We're gonna take one more break. We're gonna come right back. Literally, I'm gonna turn it over, and we're gonna finish the themes out, and then we're gonna say our goodbyes. Okay. All right.
Full of hair.
So we're back for the last time. We'll be done in 5 minutes.
5-ish minutes. Yeah, we can fit it in.
You can stick around if you stuck around this long.
I mean, yeah.
Okay. So number 4 on my list. I haven't been going the numbers. I don't know why I said that, but I have change versus tradition. Burger King foot lettuce. I have change versus tradition as one of the themes, and I also have the dangers of ignorance as one of the themes. And while we're at it, desire to escape. I feel like all those things kind of play into each other, and
yeah, it's really hard to identify one overarching theme for the whole film because it's really just a lot of emotion displayed throughout by Dante, the main character, and you can see that he's literally being pulled in all these different directions, and it's all him.
Yeah.
No one, like Randall said, is what do you say? Breaking your arm, forcing you to do this. It's all in his head.
Yeah.
It's all him doing that, and I think it's hard to condense that into one line, I guess.
I think man versus society I mean, I think that's kind
Yeah.
of it. And Man versus Self. I mean, both of those are very prevalent.
Yeah, there's no, like the antagonist of this movie is the protagonist.
Yeah.
If you had to put it that way, like I think that it's really all him.
Yeah, that is true. There is no overarching antagonist to this whole movie.
Yeah, there's no like one customer who keeps coming back and fucking shit up for him. There's no.
Well, the actor is the same person, but the character is not the same.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, there's no big bad for this movie, and it makes the movie better.
And there's no real action sequences except for like
the hockey scene,
the hockey scene, and the fight between Randall and Dante at the end of the movie. Which when I learned after watching this that was filmed in a real store that he worked at, like I was like, how did he pay? I was like, how much of the budget was just paying for all the damages that he caused? Because it's not like just they knocked stuff over and like had to put it back. Like they broke shit and like they ruined candies and like all kinds of stuff, and like they were ripping open packs of cigarettes and throwing cigarettes at each other. Like, and I wonder how much of this $27,000 was just
him buying cigarettes so they could throw them. That's really funny.
It just goes to show that like he really was like. There's no way that he was able to keep working at that store after making this movie. And like I wonder if he really knew like this is it.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a huge leap to take, and it's the exact opposite of what Dante would be doing. Like this, it's nothing that Dante would do. It's like he would never take a leap like that. He would never make such a huge change. He's comfortable, but he's also dissatisfied.
Yeah,
it's like he's comfortable with his shittiness.
Right.
He's grown to accept it.
Yeah. I mean, and I have that as kind of the theme. I have emptiness.
Yeah.
That's what leads the charge on that feeling that he has.
I think one thing I had written down was like how obviously, and I think Silent Bob is the one who calls it out, and Dante himself even mentions it as like this subconscious urge or want to break up with Veronica because he thinks that she's like part of the reason that he's dissatisfied with life, and that's why he's complacent. When really, if anything, she is the one pushing him to change. And it's mentioned a couple times that like they always talk about the fact that he should go back to school and he's so smart and like he's got potential. And while he's claims to see that in himself, he never acts on it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Silent Bob drops the hell of a one-liner. Literally one line, where he said, what does he say about Caitlin? He hits him with a sobering line about Caitlin. I think it'd be easy to just look at
it. Would be easier to just look at
Silent Bob line.
I mean, he's basically saying what I said earlier. Like she's bringing you lasagna, giving you back rubs. I mean, she's always doing stuff for you. It's like, all I know about Caitlin is that she cheated on you multiple times. I mean, you met a guy that she was cheating on.
That's exactly what he says. Him being Silent Bob, no context, he doesn't care, He just says, there's a million fine-looking women in the world, dude, but they don't bring you all lasagna at work. Most of them just cheat on you. And I thought that having no context or whatever, that character doesn't, because he's just looked despondent the whole movie.
All he does is smoke cigarettes the whole movie. Sit there in a trench coat.
Yeah, and it, talk about emptiness and loneliness, but I mean,
I'm glad that Kevin Smith saved one really good line for himself, because another thing I learned while reading was he originally was going to play Randall in the movie. That's why Randall has so many amazing lines, is because Kevin Smith was like, I want to do these.
I'm sure he thinks he's Randall.
He had to hand it off. Yeah, I'm sure he thinks he's Randall.
Yeah.
Everyone would rather be Randall.
Yeah. I think everybody who's seen this movie would rather be Randall.
No one wants to be the 37th Dick.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody wants to be that, sir.
With that, should we is there any more themes you want to talk about, or should we just give our ratings or overall feeling of the movie?
Yeah, I think that was a good spot to leave.
I think it would be a good idea to give one emotion that you would use to describe how you felt watching this movie, and then a number rating.
Okay. So for this movie, I would say after I finished watching the movie, the feeling that I felt was resolve. Because this movie was very relatable to me on many levels.
Agreed.
So, you know, at the end of this movie, I could kind of accept some of the stuff that I was unable to when I had left, you know, working at that gas station. And, you know, if you can ever walk home or turn your TV off after watching a movie and feel like you've actually learned something or actually gained like an emotional like feeling, or you've gained like a new perspective or sense of looking at something from your own life, I mean, incredible. And I loved it. I gave this movie an 8.5 out of 10, and I'm gonna pull up the list.
I've only going to call myself out here. I've only watched the first episode of this podcast, so I don't know the rankings right now.
Let me pull up the list.
We got a second screen here. While that's happening, the one phrase I would use to describe how this movie made me feel was called out. Because even though I'm pretty far past my convenience store days now, I think that a lot of the feelings and emotions and the characters in this movie have about themselves, that's something that anybody can have in a job where they've had long enough where they just feel like they're not getting anywhere with it. And it really just made me feel called out. Like, oh, that was me at one point. And like that could still be me if I let myself get into a rut. If I don't, you know, take pride in like just myself. I don't have to take pride in my job or like, you know, my girlfriend or anything like that. I just need to have pride in myself. So I was like, I'm glad that this movie kind of reinforced that for me a little bit, because it's easy to lose sight of that.
For sure.
And I would give this movie 32 out of 37 dicks sucks, which rounds out to about an 8.5 as well.
Okay.
Let me do the math on that. I think that was right. I'm just doing that off the dome. 8.6 to be exact, but yeah, 8.5 basically. But thought I'd put a little shit. Oh, okay.
So.
Oh, we're doing averages up here.
Oh yeah. So, Clerks is getting added. So we've got my rating, which comes in at a whopping 8.5, and we've got his
slightly higher
that comes
8.6.
in at 8.5.
Yeah, I mean, about the same. Okay. I would round down for mine, actually. I did the exact math. It's 8.5.
Okay, so this one gets a 17, and is now tied with Gone Girl for number 2 on our list. This is no longer Daniel's rating. This is Guest's rating.
Look at that displacement. Suck it, Daniel.
Suck a dick. Maybe you should do the podcast if you want it to be you.
Hey man, you gotta finish what you started. I'm calling him out right here, now.
Do it. He deserves it.
It'd be really funny. This is my last episode. I'm gonna get in a car wreck on the way home.
Gonna get canceled.
Like that was last we saw fucking Trevor.
Yeah, I can't even release this. We're not friends anymore.
Find out I shot a cat after this. It's like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, what the fuck? What's going on?
Realize.
All right.
You should watch Karate Kid with Jaden Smith next time. I haven't seen that. I just know it's probably terrible.
No, I have.
I feel bad for you. It didn't look great.
It's not. It's not great.
Have you seen the original Karate Kid?
I have seen that. I've seen Karate Kid 2, and the new Karate Kid. And I'm pretty sure there's Karate Kid 3, but I don't know.
Have you seen Cobra Kai?
No, that's the show. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like Karate Kid.
I think karate's kind of lame.
Karate's pretty lame.
You know what's fucking cool?
What?
Krav Maga.
Fucking Muay Thai.
Yeah, Muay Thai.
Fucking kickboxing.
Sumo wrestling.
Hell yeah.
WWE is cool.
Exactly. WWE is cooler. Jiu-jitsu is beautiful if you know what you're watching.
Capoeira?
Yeah, capoeira is really nice.
But there's no way you're chopping through blocks, buddy.
Yeah, that's just bullshit. Alrighty. That's enough for that. Finding new films. We found Clerks. We'll see you guys next week. Next week, we will have Preston, who I have known since I was 9 years old. And we'll be talking about his latest movie, Mulholland Drive. So, yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
I've known this guy since I was 14, so I'm 22 now.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, we're
Don't
old.
remind me.
Yeah, sorry. But Preston will be here. We'll be watching Mulholland Drive by David Lynch. Very excited about that. I will probably get murdered by cinephiles for saying this, but I've never seen a David Lynch movie.
Can't say that I have.
Yeah. Alrighty. That's it. Goodbye, everyone. See you next week.
Don't suck any dicks on your way to the parking lot.